President Trump is the president-elect. He is the projected winner of the Electoral College, and Vice President Harris has called him and has conceded this race. Now, I'm going to explain why we were able to get results in this election so quickly. But first, a few things. One, this Trump victory is still not official. As I have been reporting for weeks, nothing is official until the states certify their results, which won't happen for days or weeks. That said, the result is not going to change, even though the votes are still being counted. Now, as I've reported, just because the media makes a projection does not mean the vote counting stops. No, it's going as we speak, and it will continue until every ballot is checked and counted. Two, let's talk about how Trump did this and why we were able to know the results so quickly. Well, we watched it all happen together live last night. So the reason why this race was projected for Trump, even though to this moment Nevada and Arizona are not called yet, is because math. There is no mathematically possible way for Vice President Harris at this point to overcome Trump's electoral victory that he had last night. Here's how that math works. So once the polls started to close last night, all the states started to fall in line the way we were all expecting. But some critical swing states were called fairly early in the night. First, it was North Carolina that went to Trump. Now, it wasn't a surprise Trump won that state before, but it was when they called Georgia for Trump. That's when things changed. Joe Biden won that state, and Trump was able to flip it last night. And because he was able to flip Georgia, that opened up several paths for him to get to 270 electoral votes. And on the flip side, it narrowed the paths available for Harris to get to 270. So because Georgia and North Carolina had been called for Trump, that meant Harris would have had to have won Pennsylvania in order to stay mathematically viable in the Electoral College. But in the end, Pennsylvania went to Trump. That means he got to 270, which means even though Wisconsin at the time, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, and Arizona, and Alaska, which we knew was going to go red, these weren't called, we knew there was no mathematical chance for Harris to win. And then this morning, Wisconsin and Michigan were both called for Trump, which then just widens his electoral victory. So lastly, I want to make one more point about why we knew the results so early and why those results were accepted so quickly. Mostly because this race wasn't close. But you're probably thinking it wasn't close in 2020 either. And you'd be right. And it still took 4 days for that race to be called. In 2020, there were a couple of things that were happening, if you remember, which I have talked about multiple times on my page. There were COVID restrictions. There were a lot of mail-in ballots that needed to be counted. That all took time. Plus, in 2020, the losing candidate, former President Trump, decided not to concede that race and instead filed more than 60 legal challenges, which ultimately were almost all dismissed. So for the record, he still has not conceded that 2020 race. None of that is an opinion. Those are all facts, and that is what happened. But the bottom line here, in America, our country was founded on the belief that there will be a peaceful transfer of power. So in 2024, not only has Vice President Harris already called President-elect Trump to concede, but President Biden, the sitting president, has also called him to invite him to the White House for a visit. That is what a peaceful transfer of power looks like.